to be the man, you gotta beat the man right here.
Is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Nobody is on my level. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
To even say there's a lot of news tonight is an understatement. We're just going to get into all this. First off, right after Monday Night Raw, or right during Monday Night Raw, Stephanie McMahon resigns her post as co-CEO of WWE. Now, if you might remember 8 months ago, or when we had the changeover with Vince, back in June or July, remember Stephanie McMahon was supposed to take a leave of absence? She was already planning to go. How long did you think she was going to stay there for? So for people to be shocked that she decided to go and leave now, well, I mean, it could be made sense, the fact that Vince is back in some capacity as a board director, okay, as the chairman of the board. He's back, and at this point, it's probably determined pretty well that Nick Khan doesn't have to be a co-CEO of the company. The whole idea was, in that chief executive officer helm, you wanted to have a McMahon nearby to continue to at least be oversight, because I don't think Stephanie was staying outside of her own realm of being chief brand officer, what she's been doing in the marketing and the branding sense of the company. Okay, so there was not a need necessarily to be there. She needed to just be there as part of really more of the understanding of just the business day to day, and really giving the adjustment to Nick Khan to be that CEO. So it's been done. So Nick Khan now solo CEO of the company. Stephanie drops away. And then we get this story that just out of nowhere. And can I tell you, for all those people out there, wrestling TikTok, wrestling Twitter, just wrestling fans and social media, the IWC was in an uproar. Okay, last week you couldn't let yourself go with the fact that you thought Vince McMahon's going to take over creative now that he comes back. And I tried to explain to you for 45 minutes last week that Vince is back for the purpose of the fact that while there might be broadcast deals for negotiation coming up at the end of this year, so that it can be set up and instituted in October 2024, what we need to understand, or 2023, right? No, 2024, that's right. So put it like this. Vince is here, as I said last week, and I'm going to just continue to say that. He's here for a potential sale of the company, because at this point, the streaming services are looking for intellectual property. What Disney has done, right? Disney has Star Wars. Disney has Marvel. Disney has Pixar. Disney has Disney. Disney has Fox. Like, they own certain properties across the board. And the idea is, for some of these other companies, they want to do the same thing. They want to own their own properties and be able to milk the hell out of it. So WWE is one of those properties. For ESPN Plus, right? UFC is a deal there. But it's one thing to be said for all these streaming services to go ahead and buy out the rights, the broadcasting rights for this programming. And it's another if they know that, oh, we're going to spend, the amount we're going to be spending in 10 years, we can easily turn a profit on this company if we just bought it outright. If the valuation is $6 to $7 million, and you're talking about, pick the companies here, Fox or Comcast, which owns NBC Universal. If they said, you know what? Imagine if we already spent $600 million, because we're already going to bump up from $240 now, $250 million. We have to bump up to what, $300, $400 million this time around in order to get the access, right? And so that's the whole modus operandi now. WWE is going to be expecting to get a large increase, no matter what, because they can't. So if they get $300, $350, $400 million, they're going to do what they want, just like what the NFL gets. If they want Amazon to buy into NFL Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football, yeah, spend $1 billion a year on it. $1 billion a year. That's how important all these properties are. WWE is in the same argument. Now, not as big, but they're very valuable, and they have a hardcore audience, which you can get them for pay-per-views. You can get them to go visit your parks or whatever entertainment attractions you have. You can get them to buy merchandise. There's a whole lot of stuff that can be done with this intellectual property. Plus, these superstars can be utilized if you want to get them booked into various projects. Universal Studios pictures, right? You want to get them into NBC programming. You want to get them into whatever. Bravo. You can do that. Anything for Peacock, you can get them on board, right? Because you own them. You own the contracts, you own the company, you own the library, you own it all. $6 to $7 million, $6 to $7 billion with Vince's blessing, because he has to do that. Vince has to be a part of that deal. Now, let's go on to Monday. And several sources, Stephen Milhausen of DAZN and Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net. Now, for their credit, both of them have actually been pretty recently, they've actually hit on a couple headlines, a couple stories, breaking news. And you know what? They get fed stories. Now, normally they have the credibility of stories, but this is where their journalistic integrity gets compromised. Because what happens here is that the wrestling dirt sheets, not only do they peddle in actual credible news, they're not opposed to peddling in rumors. Now, I'll say it like this. I think Stephen Milhausen and Cassidy Haynes were not necessarily in on the rumor. They probably took it as fact, took it from the source they got it from, or sources they got it from, and said, okay, we have a deal in place now that already WWE, according to what's being said, that there was a deal in place to sell WWE to Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. That was the story. Originally reported by Stephen Milhausen of DAZN Tuesday, Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net followed along. And then the other reporters came along, wanted to follow and find out if this story is true. Meltzer couldn't tell you anything. Sean Ross Sapp couldn't tell you anything. Ariel Helwani, he was told, and this is Bleacher Report I'm reading from tonight, because Bleacher Report gives a report and says, WWE does not have a deal to sell to Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. End point. End stop. Nothing else. Ariel Helwani says that the sources he has says that WWE has not agreed to sell to Saudi Arabia or any other entity, and the company is, quote, still exploring all options. Right. If Vince is not coming in here, and in less than a weekend, he's going to have a deal with the Saudis. Yes. Has he talked to the Saudis? Absolutely. When they have spoken with him at Crown Jewel or Elimination Chamber, remember this company is already spending the Saudi. What the Saudi was it the what's that organization? The Saudi Entertainment Authority, I think. What the word is called? Remember, they're spending $50 million a year already on 2 events. The Saudis have the money, and so that story came out. And then we go to Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics, because I was following him, John Pollock's Post Wrestling, and Brandon Thurston disputed the reports, noting that someone in WWE who would know told him the Saudi Arabia rumors are untrue. Now, moving along with this, this is what I think actually happened. To stir up the pot, stir up the hornet's nest, this rumor of the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, with a couple of these journalists, right, the dirt sheet writers, taking the story as truth and trying to push it out there as actual fact, to where enough of the IWC took it as gospel. Some of these people that got on here and took it as the gospel, like, well, and then some of them, at least they try to like, oh, well, maybe it's not true. If it is true, if it's not true, listen, the fact you had to question if it's true or not, no. Listen, I've been on watching wrestling 35 years plus. Actually, no, it's 40 years now. This year, because it was 83, I started watching Primetime Wrestling on USA Network. That's when I got my Cablevision box, 36 channels, little black box. So what happened was, I'm looking here, and I don't care how much you think you know Vince McMahon or how he thinks or what his you try to mesh the Vince McMahon the Mr. McMahon persona in Monday Night Raw and what we saw on television with the real person. Now, there is a lot of actual personality of Vince McMahon that does that, but it's not happening like this. What they did, this story I think was filtered out. It was fed out to these sites, to two guys that would definitely be, at least people would say, you know what, man, we need to check this. We need to fact check to see if this rumor is true. This was not a debunked rumor right away. It took a day. It took 24 hours to figure it out. Actually, it took more about 48 hours to figure it out because this was Monday night. And I'm just now seeing the story today on Wednesday night. And so to get the negotiations going, just this thought of this story right here, this rumor, which, wrestling news, we've been used to seeing rumors before. And on this program, I don't talk about it. But I'm only bringing it up. And this is plain and simple. This was done, I think, in some sleight of hand way by WWE, where the right sources talk to the right people to get the story out there, get it to spread like wildfire. It went viral because when the negotiations start, we already know that in various stories that came out by various media, business publications, financial publications, they already started talking about who are the potential bidders, the potential buyers of WWE if a sale is imminent. And one of them was Saudi Arabia. They kept saying it. So why not? If Saudi Arabia goes ahead and, it's logical. It's practical. It makes sense. So that's why it's done like this. Regardless of what you think about, Saudi Arabia, they have human rights and this and that. Okay, got it. Yeah. Use that complaint and argument when you can go ahead and talk about that when we get back to Crown Jewel and go back to Elimination Chamber, whatever they're going to do this time, or Super Showdown, whatever the next Saudi Arabia show. You can go ahead and address your grievances over their treatment of women and their human rights policy and their antiquated, way of society. I get it. Well, why don't we just table that for later? You can go ahead and go after Saudi Arabia whenever you want, but this story, you're just kind of just adding egg onto the fire. You just want to just follow along and just think that's what you got to do. Okay, whatever. Now, with that said, the other bidders, they'll look at it and say, look at this right here. They might actually go ahead and, the Comcasts and the Disneys of the world and all these major media conglomerates, they'll probably say, you know what? Go find out some information for the Saudi Arabia. Somebody talk to the government there. Talk to the sheiks. Find out if they actually were talking. Listen, we have already seen documentation that Vince McMahon has talked to the Saudi Arabian government there. They've talked. They've spoken. Sure. And so you could see this going on. And we also know that, and I talked about this last week, is that CNBC for the rumors of potential sale because WWE has already hired investment banking company JP Morgan to advise in sale discussions. This happened on Thursday. And Alex Sherman, who wrote the CNBC story, already said Comcast, Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, Netflix, Amazon, UFC owner, Endeavor Group Holdings, and Formula One owner, Liberty Media, are companies who would have interest in outright buying the company. Now, for context, Bleacher Report explains that WWE has already been in a business arrangement with Saudi Arabia since 2018 and agreed to hold two major events in the country every year through 2027. And according to Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics, the agreement has been where each Saudi Arabia event nets between $50 and $55 million. And as we know, Saudi Arabia has invested heavily in sports teams and leagues in recent years, leading to accusations of sports washing. And they now own okay, here's the other part. So the Saudi Public Investment Fund, why would they be a logical place for WWE to go? Well, because the Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund actually already invested millions upon millions of dollars and brought a lot of major talent from the PG Tour to compete in their Live Golf Association. Plus, this investment fund owns 80% of the English Premier League soccer club Newcastle United, and they have hosted several significant sporting events. So listen, it's not outside of the scope of possibility or reality that it was possible that Saudi Arabia could be a potential buyer. So it's not a question of that. Like, again, they're spending $50 million, $100 million a year on just 2 events. And if they had the property and they're able to do something with it, imagine $6 to $7 billion. They have that plus. All they got is crank a little bit of oil. They got it. Okay. So they could totally do that. But all reports of a deal, Blake's report says, quote, being in place were premature. But the fact of the matter is that this story was brought out there for a purpose. Okay. There was nothing to the story, but the rumor was good enough to stir up the pot, to stir up the hornet's nest, to get people to start saying, hey, this sale thing's about to happen. And if it goes so viral that people are caring about it, like, I don't even know if the stock actually made any much of a difference, but you know what? A lot of stuff happened right now. I don't know if the stock actually went up or not, but they're going through a lot right now. At the moment, look at this. You want to know how things went? And remember, they have so many things going on right now. There's so much going on right now, literally. Let me just say it like this. What they already talked about in the story, they were making a mention of, this has been a heavy news week for WWE in general. McMahon coming back last week. Stephanie McMahon stepping down as co-CEO. Nick Khan now completely holds the helm of CEO. JP Morgan will be the mediator for the impending sale of the WWE when it happens. That's a lot that's going on, man. That's a lot. And then we have the other part that's coming up now where knew that. Who thought we would get right into the space of saying, oh, okay, as soon as Vince McMahon returns back to being the chairman, of course, I told you a lawsuit would be coming. You know there was going to be something happening here where they were not going to let that go. So there's investor litigation now over claims he pushed aside the board of directors by illegally installing himself as chairman. Now, court documents obtained by Bloomberg Law. Scott Phillips, a WWE shareholder, has filed a lawsuit against McMahon in Delaware's Chancery Court, accusing him of using his 81% voting control to oust 3 board members by bringing himself, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson back to the board by making bylaw changes that would, quote, impose his will on the board and WWE. Now, we don't know how far this would go, but then again, this has already happened. They're trying to go with it. Lawsuit notes that, quote, to take complete personal control over any major corporate decision by adding his cronies to the board violates Delaware law. So that happened. And I'm sure Wall Street Journal is going to go after what's going on here, because if he's coming back, then the allegations are going to probably continue. We know that's going to come up. That's just a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing something from that eventually. But with everything that's going on, mind you, the company's doing fine. The company's doing fine. Well, they haven't reported anything since January 6th. No, they did report the executive chairman part. But again, there's no stories out here that are going to be pushed up. But really, WWE's stock right now, closing the New York Stock Exchange today, in such a bad time for everybody right now. Listen, on a day when Netflix, dropped in almost a point in price, WWE right now closed at $89.50, almost $90. And I'm trying to figure, is this like, how high does that compare to what has been done? They have not reached $90. Okay. they're in territory where in April 2019, they were hitting a high of $96, and they hit $96 again in September 2018. That's also the broadcast deals that came into play, right? Now we're back to this again, the impending sale, and $90. Dare I say, when the sale comes up, this company is going to get $100 per share. $100 per share. You can see it happening. But now, to close out this story here, because I'm tired of this rumor, like it really just boggles my mind, and just how everybody just got caught up in it. And listen, a lot of people just got suckered in. What you need to understand is you need to, as wrestling fans, you know, eventually Vince is not going to be a part of all this. And I understand everybody wants to be upset because I think it's just feigning anger and outrage, just to feign anger and outrage. It's the younger crowd that does it. It's the ones that are part of the Attitude Era that really believe that was like close to as real as you can get. No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. But everyone wants to go ahead and feel like they have to, this story, like the Attitude Era still lives. And honestly, for those that think that the Attitude Era was so good, you know what? I look on TikTok and I'll see some tapes of what I look at stuff. There's one guy that does TikTok videos, and he actually does stuff on other social media sites, but he's always putting up the Ric Flair promos that always happen at the end of World Championship Wrestling. 6:05 Eastern, right? So right before Braves baseball on Saturdays. I would watch those damn promos. Like I would make sure to catch like the last 5 minutes of Ric Flair cutting a promo on whoever. If it was Nikita Koloff, Lex Luger, Road Warrior, Magnum TA, whatever. Those were the fun things, man. Like it was always fun to watch that. And I try to watch every time people want to go and put up some clip and it's all of a sudden glass breaks, Stone Cold comes out, Stone Cold. I mean, everybody wants to hear that, right? I get it. Like I'm more fascinated by other things. Like recently, I remember catching a lot on my TikTok feed of Hulk Hogan working in Japan. It was bringing a different style. I was like, yeah, it's kind of good. I would have liked to have seen that. But the thing is, the wrestling fans, my fellow podcast wrestling brother, listen, I care about you guys. I try to go ahead and bring some voice of reason here. I'm not Kevin Castle here, but you know, for the most part, I like to think that I don't need to be caught up in, like some of my fellow podcasting wrestling brethren, they need to go ahead and use this story just to stir the shit up. Like, you know what? Clickbait is clickbait. I get that part. Could I have done that? Well, maybe tonight I did, because I basically just threw it back at everybody. You really thought Vince was going to sell to the Saudis. You really thought that. And you believed it. Look, and I feel bad for Cassidy Haynes and Steve Muehlhausen for getting caught up in it, man. They caught the story. And there's probably some people that don't realize that the story has been debunked. Thank you, Bleacher Report, for putting out a story, but I bet you people still think the rumor's true. And there will be people that I look at on my TikTok feed. I'm not going to name names, but they're going to go on there. They're going to get upset. And you know what? They're also the ones that only watch WWE. Or if they do watch AEW, they watch it with, you know, a grudge. You got to understand, when you have a wrestling fan that is just really dedicated to the WWE product, it's like watching baseball or watching football and watching a team of all-stars. Meanwhile, I'm the kind of guy that likes to watch a team that plays Moneyball, and they have a farm system, and they have people that they bring in together, and they make something out of nothing. The MLWs, the NWAs, Impact Wrestlings of the world. Like, I enjoy it. I have a good old time watching it. But that's not the way they want to do it over here. They always want to just, like, feel like, okay, everybody's going to get some kind of feel to it that, like, people are also just taking the story of the WWE sale and just running with it and just see, well, we're just going to use it as like a clickbait for some, to get people to watch, right? Fightful has it. WWE isn't selling yet. And they're using the Saudi prince on there with Vince McMahon and right? They're all doing this thing. Wonderful for them. Yeah, let's see if that works for you. To just play with the audience's emotions, with their anger, with their vitriol. Because remember, these are people with like the social media tiki torches. They get out to Twitter, right? They get out to TikTok. Like, even when I put the graphic together for the show tonight, I thought it was pretty funny. I was able to find some clip art for an angry mob, and I put Twitter birds and TikTok logos all around them as like their weapons, which is what they're doing. It's a mob. And this mob mentality, you know what? They think that this is going to work. They think they're going to actually like make some change here. Listen, you don't matter. You barely do. Listen, Vince McMahon, or excuse me, Triple H might be actually doing some things that you might think would be working well, but no. And I'm going to hate to say this, because I know people will get pissed, but I know it's the truth. There are a lot of stars that you see in WWE that everybody complains about, and it's like, okay, you know what you're watching, right? Well, some of the stars you see, especially on Raw, you're watching a bunch of stars that are not ready for the main roster that Vince would have never allowed because there was a reason why. Maybe he was right. Like right now, WrestleMania time's around, and did we see Johnny Gargano? Was he around? Candice LeRae had a match, right? But she was taking Rhea Ripley, I think it was, and that was it. But really, quite a few. I mean, the Judgment Day, that's held up really strong, and it's good. You get Solo Sikoa out there. He's now like a little mini Umaga now, which is good. I like that. And a lot of mainstays rule the main roster, right? And they're the ones that are on that show, and they've been around forever because they have to be. Like, what else are you going to do? Johnny Gargano's not going to draw. Candice LeRae's not going to draw. She was running as a match to go ahead and get Rhea Ripley over. That's what she was. She was enhanced squash match. So you got that, and there's no Dexter Lumis to be seen. Bronson Reed was in there for like a cameo with The Miz, right? But as we get closer, Royal Rumble, we'll see some stars that we're going to see of this not ready for primetime era. Listen, I'm going to tell you, the one thing that I'm going to look forward to at Royal Rumble is let's see what San Antonio does in terms of some of the stars that come out with their entrances. Who's going to get the pops and who's not? Is Johnny Gargano going to get a pop? Is Dexter Lumis going to get a pop? You know? LA Knight, will he get a pop? I mean, you got to ask yourself, like, who's going to come out? And the women as well. Tegan Knox? Candice LeRae? You got to ask yourself, who's going to come out and actually get like a real pop, and who's going to get something to be done? Like, Triple H, you can try to go ahead and, take care of your NXT black and yellow 2019ers and try to shine them up and make them look good. But when they're not good, they're not ready, and they're just not good for this main roster. They could be good anywhere else. You know what? You put Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae over in Impact Wrestling, I bet you they'll excel. They'll excel. Because they're probably not meant to be in WWE. Like, that's why they're only in NXT, but they were never meant to be higher, which is the other problem. Remember, Triple H, well, the number of the stars that he had before he had to go and compete against AEW head-to-head on Wednesday nights, he wasn't worried so much about who was going to get called up from NXT to that main roster, because he wasn't running the organization. He wasn't running that system that way. It wasn't developmental anymore. It lost its point. Like, if there was anybody who was good, that was young, and they wanted to bring up, Vince would just call him right up and right away. So it'll be the Performance Center. But then NXT didn't necessarily have stars that would get grown up into that main roster. A handful did, but not much. And a lot didn't pan out. And that's part of the thing where WWE can make all the resources all they want to build stars. Look at the way they kind of positioned, Fighting with My Family and the whole Page story, right? You can build out an exceptional state-of-the-art performance center. This is a corporate thing. They have the money, they got the wherewithal, and they can probably bring on people that'll train. But it's something to be said where there's a number of stars that have come out of that performance center and have excelled on that main roster. But then I think about FCW. There was like a dumpy kind of thing in Tampa. Steve Kern holding it down. And I'd watch that stuff on Brightline Networks and find the show on YouTube somewhere because somebody would put it up. And I'll tell you what, even though that show was very Bush League, A lot of stars coming out of there. Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, Heath came out of there. You're thinking about, Drew Galloway came out of there, or Drew McIntyre. There's a lot of people that came out of that spot, man. A lot. You just got to think about like how far everybody went in FCW. And I'll tell you, that was one of those things where, like, much like NXT was at the very beginning, man, it was a must-see show. Like, it was a show I looked forward to. It was like on Thursday nights, I think it was. And I catch it. And I was like, wow, that's a good show, man. I am enjoying FCW. It's different. But now, not so much. It's like, this company, I'm always curious what will happen once they do get into new leadership. Or, well, not new leadership, new ownership. And what will change about that. We can go on to that for a while, but not right away. My original point is just the fact that the fans don't know what's best for them, what's best for business. And when they be given the chance to, make a point of, oh, here's some stars you should have. So here's what's going to happen. Out of WrestleMania this year, coming up on this current card, it's going to be what would have been the same thing when Vince McMahon was around. John Cena, Logan Paul will be a match. Seth Rollins and Cody will be a match. Somehow they'll find a way to go ahead and have Roman do new matches where he has to go and let one of the belts go. Who knows? Stone Cold might do a match. Ronda Rousey's got to do a match. You have all the titles on the line. But for the most part, Triple H's real work, his real accomplishment, the mid-card, is going to make for a great Royal Rumble. I have no doubt about it. You'll have some good people in that Royal Rumble match. But now the question will be, the real test, is San Antonio going to cheer all these Triple H loyalists? All these NXT 2019ers? Are they going to be cheered on? You know what kind of cheers they're not going to get? They're not going to go with the AEW gave at Kia Forum tonight with Adam Cole. Man, the homecoming, the warm well wishes of him recovering and coming back. Man, Adam Cole was on fire tonight. And Adam Cole, Vince didn't see it. And by the way, I'll say this too. With Adam Cole, he never needed a faction, really. I mean, they put Undisputed Era with him, and they put him up against Gargano and whatever else, all they want. But, like, the Undisputed Era, okay, the faction was fine, but, like, I don't think Adam Cole ever needed any of that, personally. Right now, he comes out there, that guy's a big old baby face, and you know what? After they do what they're going to do with Bryan Danielson and MJF, however they're going to get MJF to hold on to that belt, they need to move on, eventually, to get to MJF and Adam Cole. That's a match I want to see. It'll be wonderful. That feud will be great. There's a lot of the people that MJF can feud, by the way. That's just the one thing I can tell you. He's got plenty of people to feud. Because I'd like to see how he would do with Adam Cole. That's intriguing to me. And he's one of the guys I think that will eventually get the belt. He's going to be crowned AEW champion sometime. It won't be that long from now. I don't know if it'll be the next year. Maybe by the end of this year or next year. Because I still think MJF's going to have to hold on to that belt for a while. The Triple B, yeah. He might have a long run too. It could very well be that, and I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. We need to keep building MJF as the heel, as the champ. And I'll tell you, MJF, on their classic promo, bashing Ken Young and Freddie Prinze Jr. And he was good out there, man. It was real good. Talking about the rats. You talk about the rats he'd screw around with. That was the kind of thing he was to do back at MLW. Like the early days, he would use those lines. So he's kind of playing back to his old school kind of roots of what he would talk about when all he wore was the Burberry scarf, and he'd come out there with whatever girl he had as the valet for that show. Well, it was Aria Blake or somebody else. And so, like, I look and I'm like, MJF's just performing, man. That guy gets the crowd up. He's rawing them up and continues to do what he does. It's good stuff. I still like where Ricky Starks is doing things and what they're building up him with. They're definitely putting a rocket launcher on his pack once again. I like that. But I'm going to tell you this too. When you want to compare what Triple H is doing with the stars he has over there, he's building a lot of veterans. Remember, of the 2019ers that you see out there, that's what I'm calling them that. That's going to stick. The 2019ers that are out there, the NXT 2019ers. Remember, he's got a lot of stars that are old. Dexter Lumis, I mean, he's been around for, what, a decade plus? Sam Shaw was almost a decade ago, right? Almost, or more than that. Sam Shaw was a long time ago. Gargano's been in the circuit for a long time. Candice LeRae's been around there for a long time. Ricochet and Santos Escobar, we saw him back in Lucha Underground. What was the Ultima Lucha, right? And there's quite a other people out there that have been around for a long time. And you're just like, okay, they're not young spring chickens here. They're not going to be here with a long time. Like, except for Austin Theory. Like, Austin Theory's definitely got a future from him. They had put time with Liv Morgan, then they took it away. And like right now, it's also the fact that Triple H was always the kind of guy to like keep people that he was more familiar with over older stars. Like he's probably had that old mindset, like the older stars need to stay on front and the younger stars need to go and take a step back. Because he probably has that old school mentality, which is okay. That's fine. I don't know what they're going to do after that. Like, I don't know what you do to work things through. It's tough. It's difficult. But the crowd that wants, that doesn't want to see Vince succeed at all in this sale, like, there are just some people that just feel like, well, they're such fans. They don't understand that Vince is going to make a big deal out of this. He's going to make some money off of it, cash out, and who knows what he's going to do with it. But if what I think is the case, the Saudi Arabia deal was used as a bluff. The JP Morgan thing has been set up. Like everything to set up the sale now is up. Now they just got to listen to prospective buyers. That's going to happen right away. Like we're going to probably hear about meetings with all these different companies. They're going to go and meet up with them wherever it might be. Listen, they could be waiting to go meet with them in Dallas. Because here's the thing too, like Nick Khan or whoever, they might just make a point to say, hey, go ahead and meet with us here. We're going to have our big show, in Dallas coming up. We're going to have another show here. Why don't you go meet with us at the shows? Let's go ahead and have a negotiation. Let's go ahead and, let's have a chance to talk. Because they want to be able to go and showcase the premium live events, and they'll just court different companies across and say, hey, man, take a look. Especially Hollywood, especially WrestleMania. When they showcase SoFi Stadium and the full WrestleMania experience, I think that's when you're going to definitely hear some rumblings about media companies talking to WWE, right? Because you'll have Comcast, you'll have the NBC Universal folks. That'll be out there in LA for that event. Fox is already out there. All the other streaming services are out there. Netflix, all of them. Amazon. There's a lot of the people out there. All the streaming services, they're going to be right next to Hollywood. They're going to be able to do negotiations out there while they're out there. So Vince, I would be no surprise that that time in late March, early April, there's going to be some negotiations over there. At least they're going to have talks. And those talks will start spurning up some other things. And we'll see some other players come in. We'll keep hearing about things. And eventually a sale will happen. WrestleMania with a sold-out crowd. They'll be able to do the full Monty of what WWE can offer. If they can pull off The Rock, if they can pull off Stone Cold, and, they bring other stars, bring back Brock Lesnar, get Logan Paul out there, Ronda Rousey, John Cena, and you just start showcasing the stars of stars, the ones that Vince made. And imagine what you'll get out of that. You'll get a sale. But everybody got caught up in the whole Saudi thing in the first place. Hey, man, you should have known better. You should have realized that this deal did not make sense. It was literally Wednesday he's about to announce to get on board. And then over the weekend, he gets to be executive chairman once again. And so what? In 24 hours, just like that, he's got a $6 to $7 billion deal with a private investment fund of the government of Saudi Arabia. Really? It doesn't make sense. And for those journalists, I have to say this. I was in the media, man. I study journalism. By all means, please, why don't you just use something that's kind of old school, okay? Let's not be fake news like everybody else. With other political network news, they can do all that bullshit, okay? But for wrestling, you want to be a real reporter, this is what you do. Verified sources. 2 of your own before you report. If you don't have that, you can't report it. Like, do you really want to report rumors? I mean, I guess some places they do. It doesn't matter. And that's one of the things I used to hate. I used to hate the dirt sheets. And that's why they are dirt sheets, because rumors can also be part of the news. And I always try to avoid those rumors. Unless there's just something that's there that you just can't avoid. It's unavailable because it's probably going to be true. But the Saudi deal, everybody got caught up in it. They believed it. I was like, no. Sorry. You let it go. You thought about it. You got suckered. Now, among other things, I got to make mention of too. We got Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill coming up this weekend, Friday the 13th. We got that whole pay-per-view ready to go and put in. They got the full card ready to go. It'll be Friday night, Center Stage, Atlanta. Should be good. I'll bring that up a little bit later on. We'll close out the show with that. But in the meantime, let's go into a couple of the things that have come up, because there's still other stories, right? I'm not going to go too busy into the whole Stephanie McMahon thing. As I said, I think she left because it was 8 months and she wanted to leave of absence, and now everything has been handled as it was. And so it's time just to say, okay, you know what? She's going to step back finally and get that leave of absence that she wanted. Because originally it was supposed to be to help out with Triple H because of his whole thing. But no, we're here now. And they decided, okay, that works. So now let's go ahead and get into this. 30th anniversary show's coming up for Raw, and that is January 23rd. So in 2 weeks, or a week and a half. And so far, what's been announced, they're saying that Kurt Angle's about to be worked on to be scheduled to show up. Ric Flair has confirmed that he'll be at the show. We've heard that Tatanka's been scheduled. Shawn X-Pac Waltman, Kane have been scheduled. And advertised for Raw is 30. It'll be at Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Roman Reigns, Bianca Belair, Ronda Rousey, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Becky Lynch are all scheduled to be featured. There's that. And then Mandy Rose. She's been making the rounds, talking, and this is what we got so far. I haven't heard anything for a while. Like, we did hear one of her PR people say that she's made over $1 million in the last month after she was let go of her contract. She was on the Tamron Hall show, and she was asked about when WWE released her due to the content on her Fantam page. Mandy Rose admitted that she was never told that, but there's some confidentiality included in her release that she can't talk about. She got the one warning to take it down, and I complied. There was no full nudity. I would never post anything that would harm my brand. Everything I do in the privacy of my own home, showing my fans behind the scenes action, whether there's photo shoots, my everyday personal life, and nothing is wrong with that. That's what I was doing. You can't believe everything you see on the internet, and not everything is accurate. When I show photos, me, sexy, like how I've been showing on my Instagram, which everyone can see, there's nothing wrong with that. She doesn't have anything bad to say about WWE when it comes to saying that she didn't feel like she was targeted, and that everyone has their own opinion about what is and what isn't appropriate. And she also said there's nothing wrong with what she was, holding the photos and all. And she's forever grateful for what the WWE presented her with, but says she's still hurt and disappointed. She says everything happens for a reason. I can't say I was wrong because I was forever grateful about everything that I've been presented with. Like, I was champion for 413 days. I unified the 2 titles. I was the 3rd longest reigning NXT Women's Champion. I created this must-see faction with 2 other women that I brought up. I got to see so many women develop their characters. They're younger than me at the beginning of their careers. and she didn't rule out a return to WWE, citing they tried a true line of never say never, but did admit a conversation had to take place if the company wanted to get rid of her fan time account in order to return. So, not saying anything bad, leaving everything, as is, and just saying, it's disappointment that she had to go, but she's doing the right thing and not stirring up feathers. Good for her. Okay, makes sense. And there you go. That works out. So maybe Mandy Rose will make her way back somewhere sometime. She's saying all the right things, though. All right, I'm going to go wrap things up. I'm going to talk about Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill pay-per-view, because that's another, stellar lineup of shows. I hate they're running on Friday nights. I know they're doing it for a reason, but they're going up against football if they run on Saturday or Sunday night. They're running up against, there's a lot of things that are going up. So, they just don't want to, they're just trying to sit in their own lane and do Friday nights because that's what they can do. Because I think all the Impact Plus pay-per-views have been doing the same thing. This is one of the big boys. A lot of matches scheduled. The Countdown to Hard to Kill will feature a 6 Knockouts tag team match. The Death Dolls, which is Rosemary, Taya Valkyrie, and Jessica, take on Savannah Evans, Tasha Steelz, and Giselle Shaw. I will take Evans, Steelz, and Shaw to win that match, and then it'll be a 6-man scramble. Angels, former Allen Angels. Angels versus Yuji Yamura, Mike Jackson, Bhupinder Gajar, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kushida. I will take Mike Bailey because I think they want to definitely keep him strong. Jonathan Gresham versus Eddie Edwards. I will take Gresham on the win. Steve Macklin versus Rich Swann. Falls Count Anywhere. I'll take Macklin. Joe Hendry versus Moose. I'll take Moose for the digital media title. Deonna Purrazzo, Masha Slamovich, Taylor Wilde, Killer Kelly. I'm just going to take Deonna Purrazzo to win. Trey Miguel versus Black Taurus for the X Division title. I will take Trey Miguel. 4-way elimination for the Impact World Tag Team titles. Motor City Machine Guns, Heath and Rhino, Major Players, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, Bullet Club, Ace Austin, Chris Bay. And I will take Bullet Club to win the tag team titles. Knockouts Championship versus Mickie James' career. I think Mickie James will lose to Jordynne Grace at Hard to Kill. That's where I think it's going to happen. Which they've done a good storyline with that. I give him credit for that. And Josh Alexander versus Bully Ray. I will take Josh Alexander on the win. And he will continue to have the longest reign as the Impact World Champion. That's where I think they're going to go right there. And that's where I'm going to leave things right there. Hey, thanks for listening in, catching the shows you always do. The plan for Impact Hard to Kill, I think what I'm going to do is, I don't know if I'll do it on Friday night. I might do it because I'm going to go catch a movie. And I still got SmackDown to watch. So I'll try to catch as much as I can. I'm going to do like I did last time. Try to watch SmackDown simultaneous with Hard to Kill. Head to the movies. Come on back. I'm going to go watch Plane with Gerard Butler. I'm going to catch that movie at the Regal. And then I'll go ahead and come on back. Catch whatever matches I didn't catch of the rest of Hard to Kill. And I'll probably get it done on Friday night. It'll probably get done on Friday night. I'll have it up and posted. So late Friday night, you'll see my recap of Hard to Kill. Of course, a lot of people always look forward to see me do my Impact Wrestling recaps, and I will do so. And I'll have it available. WrestlingIsReal.com, you'll find it there. And, of course, on YouTube. But remember, on WrestlingIsReal.com, you can find everything on the show. If you want to go and find all the places to subscribe, all the links for social media, everything is all there. Audio, video, one shot. So anyway, come back this weekend for another Wrestling Is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Is Real podcast. Find past episodes anytime at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or all major podcast distributors. Follow at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.